Okay, when the lights come up again, everybody run for it. Broken mirrors may have lined the stage, and it may have been Friday the 13th, but there was nothing unlucky about Theatre Memphis' opening night performance of Cyrano de Bergerac. It was a really big day for Theatre Memphis. Not only did they have a nearly sold-out opening performance of Edmond Rostand's Cyrano de Bergerac, earlier in the evening the theater was honored by the Urban Arts Commission. More specifically, Dramatis Personae was honored. Artist Lon Anthony's Sculpture Garden, which was installed 30 years ago in conjunction with the opening of Theatre Memphis' new building. It was designated as Memphis's first public art heritage site. This new designation recognizes important works of public art that were installed prior to the creation of the Urban Arts Commission in 1997. Here's what Debbie Litch, Theatre Memphis' executive producer, had to say about the Sculpture Garden.
I was just so struck by the dramatis persona and how amazing it was that Memphis had this art in and at Theatre Memphis. And I had said when Urban Art Commission was formed that truly Theatre Memphis was a pioneer.
Rhodes College art professor David McCarthy said that if Anthony, who's now 75 and living in Florida, could have been in attendance, he'd probably be off in a corner somewhere sketching quick drawings of the celebrants as they refill their champagne glasses. This is what Anthony did best, to capture the spirit of people at work and play, and to exaggerate their features to the point of grotesque caricature. He's a humorist, a satirist, a keen observer of mankind as a social beast, and his work has influenced a generation of Memphians, including John Whedon, the executive director of the Urban Arts Commission. Whedon, who began his career in the arts as a theater major at Rhodes College, where Anthony was once chair of the art department, had this to say about Theatre Memphis' Sculpture Garden.
I have known it literally most of my life. Growing up, it was a great source of wonder and amusement and drama and passion. Looking at these figures really sparked something within me to pursue art in the first place.
So we know that things on the outside of Theatre Memphis are going very well. But what about what actually counts, what's going on stage? How is Cyrano de Bergerac? Well, it's really quite good, and at times it's really even extraordinary and a new benchmark in some regards for theater in Memphis. Using moonlight and mirrors as his central visual metaphors, Theatre Memphis' resident designer, Christopher McCullum, has constructed sets that are useful for the actors and often very beautiful. Not to be outdone, Andre Bruce Ward, who must have had a federal bailout-sized clothing budget, has painstakingly stitched hundreds of colorful 15th century costumes. Now, everybody knows the fictionalized version of Cyrano so well that we tend to forget he was a real person. Although his nose wasn't nearly as large as the fictional accounts would have us believe, the real Cyrano's imagination was much larger. He was a poet, a brawler, a freethinker, a soldier, an early science fiction writer who used fantastical tales about rocket ships to criticize the world around him, in a way that really wouldn't be done again until H.G. Wells came along a few hundred years later. Now, it's fun to have so many Lon Anthony sculptures on display at Theatre Memphis right now, because Anthony exaggerates his figures in a way that is strikingly similar to how the playwright has exaggerated Cyrano in his world. The Cyrano Rostand gives us is kind of a Richard III in reverse. He has everything but looks, money, and confidence, and as a result, he's condemned to woo the fair Roxanne vicariously as he pens love letter after love letter for Christian, the play's handsome but ineloquent male ingenue. Now let's all be real for just a second. The multi-talented Jerry Dye, who can most often be found working as the artistic director for the Voices of the South Theater Collaborative, is really just way too pretty to play Cyrano. There, I said it, it's out there. Even with his prosthetic proboscis, you see this guy on stage and you think, who is that beautiful guy down there with the giant nose? I wish I had a giant nose. And to no small extent, this undermines some of the really incredible work Dye is doing as an actor. I know, we should all have such problems, right? Now, not everything about Cyrano is so picture perfect. Director Robert Hetherington, chair of the University of Memphis's theater department, sometimes crams the stage so full of actors just milling about that it's hard to follow the action. And some of the actors in the smaller supporting roles are just plain awful. But that shouldn't take away from Theatre Memphis's extraordinary achievement. You see, Cyrano is a massive collaboration between Theatre Memphis and the University of Memphis, and it's a prime example of what can go so terribly, terribly right when two such institutions pool their resources. It may sound like an exaggeration, but seriously, if you traveled from Broadway to Los Angeles, you would be hard-pressed to find a production that was more thoughtfully conceived, more thoughtfully executed than Theatre Memphis's Cyrano de Bergerac. Cyrano is on stage through March 1st. Tickets are available online at theatrememphis.org.